Now, call me crazy, call me cruel, but I think Eiko would want us to move on. I don't think she would want us to die for nothing. I think deep down, she was a good girl who said, you know what, we tried. Why should all three of us get dragged into this cave? No, Keitaro, Yayoi, go enjoy a non-haunted life, right? Who am I kidding? That crazy biatch wants us to go in there and die. And honestly, man, screw that. F that. I ain't going in there, man. Now, I heard a lot about this arc. I heard this is one of the more fan favorite arcs. I've been pretty much since the show kicked off, I remember hearing about the tunnels. And ultimately, I think I leave this episode more excited for a continuation of an arc in comparison to any of the others. Now, I wouldn't say this episode creeped me out harder than past episodes. I think in terms of gore, I think in terms of graphic nature, this episode definitely takes the cake. But in terms of my own spooks, did it creep me out to the point of being like, damn, like, not really, it's still freaky, but I think the biggest compliment I can give this is that the structure and how unnerving the general atmosphere was. Like, what is real, what is fake, and even if we realize what is real, how do you even deal with it? That is such a compelling arc, and I think the idea of the almost Pokemon showdown that just ends in whatever the hell we just witnessed definitely has me more excited than ever for a continuation of an arc of Dark Gathering, and I'm really excited for more. Now, if you would like to see my full live reaction to today's wonderful Dark Gathering episode, it's over on my Patreon if you're interested. Now, this, I think, is probably going to have one more episode. At least going off of my comments last week, people were under the assumption it'd probably be about 2 episodes to deal with this, and I think that probably makes sense. Now, granted, we also know how easily things can go wrong, and it could be another 3 episodes, right? But I think my favorite thing about what they did was almost immediately, we knew something was off because we knew that at the end of last episode. If we remember, Eiko was like looking into a reflection and we saw some weird things happen. Now, in this episode, they're kind of like, there's a big lore info dump that gets dropped about how, like, you know, people got hit by cars, or then there was reflections or mirrors that weren't there but were kind of there. Pretty much right away, we see her look into the reflection, and then we pull away. Keitaro is looking at a shattered piece of glass, and Yayoi gets like a weird glitch effect going on. So all 3 of them are seeing 3 very different things. So I was under the assumption all 3 of them were separated, like almost like they think maybe they're traveling together and then immediately they just get all pulled away. Turns out, no, our girl was without a doubt possessed. And the idea of almost being trapped in a reflection, at least that's kind of how I was interpreting it at first, I thought was really cool because you get introduced to this I don't know, she kind of feels like she's cosplaying Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, which it's kind of perfect given the almost horror Pokemon design they're going for here. I flip-flopped about 3 or 4 times. My initial thought was she's a ghost because, of course, right? You know, if someone's seeing me normal in the tunnel, yeah, that's definitely Ghost 101. But then it was like, oh no, she just seems like a freak who just is super into the horror and the anomalies. But then she does this I don't know, like she whispers in a weird way. I was like, nope, definitely a ghost. But then she flips me right back. I was like, actually, she's feeling pretty normal. And by the end, no, definitely a ghost. And I think that's what's really fun is because here we have this kind of endless loop, right? Here's the start, here's the finish. They walk and then it just loops again and again and again. And what was cool what they did about it, and I think this is where my guard really dropped again, is when Eiko pretty much has her like say, hey, how far do I look to you? And she's like, well, you're outside the tunnel. And then it cuts back to her being like, well, I'm still in the tunnel. That's not what it looks like to me. It really lets you second guess things. And I think one of the biggest compliments you can give to Dark Gathering about its horror is rather than going where I think a lot of our minds would want to go, and I don't think this would be a bad play, but my assumption was, if you're telling me the tunnels are going to be creepy and freaky, like we're going to have a giant spider walking around the ceilings, like who knows what type of nonsense we'll see. And instead, it's more about the feeling of she's alone, she doesn't know why she's looping, and most importantly, if she can't leave the tunnel, what the hell's going to happen to her? And then it escalates into a madman with an axe and stealing faces, ripping into the guts. Like at one point the wind kind of flaps on this girl's body and we see that she has like no stomach, there's nothing, and every time they loop, more body parts are there. What was cool was I was under the assumption that as they were looping, it would like show time passing because there was a moon in the sky. So I thought as they kept doing it, like maybe the moon would get fuller and fuller, but instead, no, they went with a way more creepy direction. And we end in a pretty shocking way. Like we see her about to get killed, the legs come off, and it just escalates into this giant showdown, which honestly, by the end, just watching her get dragged in there, I mean, I ain't going in there. I'm not going in there at all. I think even if Keitaro doesn't know how twisted his girlfriend is, at that point, my boy, you gotta cut your damn losses because you are gonna get cut, and I mean, seriously, he still has a slit throat. What did I say the past couple of weeks? That by the time, like, we get to, like, the end arc of this season, he's gonna be in a full body cast. I don't even think he's gonna have a leg by the time this arc ends. He's gonna be limping. He's gonna have a peg leg or something. It keeps getting worse before it gets better because, goddamn, they don't give him breathing room. They say, oh, hey, you know, we just almost died in a cornfield. Let's jump into an S-rank mission. Hey, Keitaro, do you remember what S-rank means? That's right, my boy. You can't leave. Who the hell's the adult? Where are the parents in this situation? Because goddamn, we need some parents to rule with an iron fist, or two of them, because this shit is madness. I just really like what they're doing structurally. I think if you compare my earlier thoughts, I think it was around the time when they're in the cellar when he was basically getting strangled and the creepy dolls like went down his throat and was choking him to death. I think it was around that point I said that, like, it's really cool how each of the ghosts or the spirits that we deal with, whether it's a haunted phone booth to now creepy cellar dolls, it doesn't really feel like they're trying to one-up themselves or they're trying to do the same type of horror, right? No, it's like everything about this just feels possessed. Whether that is in the case of the cornfield last week with the whole idea that, I mean, what we were dealing with wasn't even like negative spirits in the way that they're evil and corrupt. No, it's like they're soldiers who died on the battlefield and, you know, are kind of lost right now. Like, it makes a lot of sense. Then there is just straight up evil nonsense, which we're seemingly dealing with, but it can also just be things that get possessed and for reasons that aren't necessarily evil, but then just get twisted and corrupted. Like in the case of what we're dealing with here, it is evil, but at the same time, it's almost like, imagine getting killed and watching someone die in front of you and then being tortured. Like, it's not even just like you cut the head off, it's like you're slowly pressing the axe into the head. That would cause such a negative, anger-filled emotion that when you do become a spirit and start haunting, that yeah, you're clouded by negative thoughts, not just because you started out bad, but because you were treated so bad in your death. This show definitely gets horror, and even when I'm not necessarily, oh my god, the hair on my arms are standing up, I always feel like I understand why this is the scariest thing for these characters, and it constantly keeps you sizzling and simmering as if you don't know what's going to happen next. And this is a really good arc, and I definitely think this could easily be the best arc we've seen so far. And honestly, I wouldn't be saying that if it was just a one episode thing, but the fact that we're carrying into next week, it looks even worse than where we started off. The endless loop, the what the hell's real, what is fake, what happened to her, is she trapped in a mirror? Everything about it was just really well done. But of course, you know, if I'm going to watch Dark Gathering, I'm probably going to enjoy it in some way or be scared in some way, so you knew I was going to like it. But let me know your thoughts, especially because this is an arc that I heard a lot of people hyped up, so I really want to know from Mongarita specifically, like, has this lived up to your expectations so far, or were you thinking of something different? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring the bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel, and like I mentioned, we have a full live reaction to today's creepy and quite spooky episode over on my Patreon if you're interested. And hey, while you're there, you also get a video shout out. So today we have Juan Valdez, Big Boy J, Blood iOS, That Random Man Anime Man, Paul Tar, and Zen Virus. I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.